Here in America, in every single state, they have a set of standards for every subject, a collection of lessons that the teachers are required to teach by the end of a term. But the greatest lessons you'll ever teach us will not come from your syllabus. The greatest lessons you will ever teach us, you will not even remember. You told us that what we weren't allowed to say, we just learned to hold our tongues. Now somewhere in America, there's a child holding the catcher of a rye, and there's a child holding a gun. But only one of these has been banned by the state government, and it's not the one that can rip through flesh. Because we must control what people say and how they think, and if they want to become their overseer of their own selves, then we'll show them a real one. And somewhere in America, there's a child sitting at his mother's computer, reading the homepage of the KKK's website that is open to the public, but that child was never read To Kill a Mockingbird. These chilling words were written by 3 teenagers who titled the poem Somewhere in America, understanding the importance of the literary classics. The Catcher in the Rye, To Kill a Mockingbird, The Scarlet Letter, Huckleberry Finn, Harry Potter, The Diary of Anne Frank, Animal Farm, The Da Vinci Code, and The Grapes of Wrath. These literary classics have been vital to the education of many, especially children. These great novels both teach important values and educate children about world affairs and classic themes. Unfortunately, each of these novels has been banned at one point in time. Many of these classic stories have been banned because of sexual references, racial slurs, religious intolerance, or supposed witchcraft promotion. Although some may consider these books controversial or inappropriate, many English classes have required us to read these books. Like the teachers had assigned us these books, I believe that each controversial book can ultimately boost, not prevent, our educational wealth. I oppose book banning for 3 main reasons. First, I believe that education should be open to everybody. Everyone should have an opportunity to read any book of their choosing and form their own opinions based on the reading. My second reason addresses the right, stating that citizens should have access to the press. The government should not restrict books from being published or interfere into personal affairs, such as the violation of the First Amendment right. Finally, I believe that parents should monitor what their own children read, but not have the authority to ban other children from reading these novels. For these reasons, I believe the government should play no role in the issue of what citizens do and do not read, and that book restrictions should remain a private matter. At first glance, the debate over book banning appears unimportant. Nevertheless, this debate has divided our nation into those who favor censoring books to protect their children, and those who argue that education should be open for everybody without interference from the government and restricting the publishing and accessing of these books. The First Amendment protects the freedom of expression and speech, and by prohibiting certain messages, the government clearly infringes upon public rights. Though I admit that parents do have the right to monitor what their children read, they do not, however, have the right to remove books from public libraries or monitor what other children read. Some of these books happen to cause the most controversy, including Huckleberry Finn, Harry Potter, The Scarlet Letter, and To Kill a Mockingbird. Those who protest against these books have clearly not studied them in depth. For example, the main theme in Huckleberry Finn focuses not on advocating racism, as some suggest, but providing that racism does not define a person's intelligence or capability for compassion. While I agree that parents should play an active role in educating their children and as their guardians have the legal right to monitor what their children read, I disagree that this legal right extends to controlling what other children read as well. Prohibiting children from reading a book will not enhance their moral values. Rather, banning a book more than likely will increase curiosity for it. I also relate to parents who ban books with controversial or uncomfortable subjects because they are unsure of how their children will react or how to explain such topics. A good way to discuss these subjects with children is to read the books with various views on the subject so that children can experience multiple points of view before forming their own opinions. For this very reason, the general public should read these books. Our society, especially our young children, need to read these books since fully understanding a topic requires knowledge of both sides. If we choose to ignore an unpopular opinion, we intentionally choose to live in ignorance, only partially educated in a topic we claim to know so well about. Without a doubt, if we continue to ban books and ignore what some others consider offensive topics, we hold ourselves back and our children from finding ways to solve society's problems, resulting in the underdevelopment of our nation as a whole. Many conservative groups make the argument that books have been banned have material that is inappropriate, immoral, or contradicting the beliefs they have ingrained in their children and their society. Take for consideration that controversial books that tackle difficult, touchy social issues like homosexuality. Books like Heather Has Two Mommies by Leslie Newman and Daddy's Roommate by Michael Willahot, both books written for...
Please disregard the bell.
Sorry. Both books written for youth with gay parents were shot down by conservative groups because they attempt to educate children about homosexuality, an issue parents feel needed to be taught to their respective children by them. While this may seem like a valid argument, really it is just skirting around the actual issue. Book banning causes usual concern for protection of children and their innocence. But all that is happening is sheltering parents showing an awkward avoidance of their children's confrontation with uncomfortable matters. It is not only selfish, but also harmful to the overall education of their children. Banning books is just the parents' way of avoiding the conversation with their children about the sensitive issues. Homosexuality and other touchy issues are a part of everyday life, and for a group to attempt to censor the subject from younger society is ridiculous. These issues are not immoral, and the censorship of them not only shows bias, but lack of respect. Banning books seems to be the most public solution for private matter. Not everyone should have to suffer restrictions because one group feels uncomfortable with the book. That being said, there are often books that contain graphic and highly inappropriate material. I do consent that these books should be censored at the discretion of the parent or anyone involved. However, no one is forcing books upon others, so we should not be forced to remove them. Other groups would say that it is also the duty of the government to regulate these books to protect concerned citizens and their families. But I would have to disagree. It's the exact opposite of the government's role. Our private lives, the books we read, should be regulated and controlled by us. Banning books from public places is not what the government was intended to do. Topics that seem socially outlawed in public, let alone published, have been banned because their immoral content may have a negative effect on younger children. In these books, authors don't promote or encourage bad behaviors. They prepare their readers for some of the real-world challenges. The child would never be able to learn these things if the book was banned, nor be able to form his or her own opinion about this certain topic. However, having these stories banned altogether would just further shelter a child whose parents may not be willing to discuss these issues with them at all. Even though these books center around scary topics, they are educating children on real-life matters that they will be exposed to once they venture into the world themselves. With the knowledge that some of these books have to offer, children can learn how to not act and what can be the consequences if they do misbehave. This learning experience could turn around with the help of a parent and pass a positive effect over the child. Clearly, banning books not only delays a child's education, but also leaves them unaware of the true state of the world. Books do not simply tell general information, they heavily influence a child, the future generation. With regular access to books, both adults and children could not form sound opinions, only narrow-minded ones. Both advocates and opponents of book banning agree that books are powerful instruments. Otherwise, the debate on the subject would neither have begun nor lasted so long. Ultimately, children can learn personal responsibility in determining which books to regard and which to discard in the future. These children will become well-educated adults who can benefit the American society. My name is Chelsea Romero, and this has been my public speech for Charles Derwin for Speech 1101. Thank you for listening.